Hi guys! This video is about functional types of testing, precisely about smoke and sanity. What we are going to talk about. First, we are going to remind ourselves about types of software testing. Then we're going to talk about functional testing, sanity, smoke, and of course, as always, you can check your knowledge with our questions we prepared. In our video about non-functional testing, we have mentioned that 4 general types of testings are functional testing, non-functional, structural, and change-related testing. And we explained non-functional types, and here we are starting with functional types of testing. Which are functional testing types? Unit testing, integration, system, sanity, smoke, UI, regression, and beta acceptance testing. What is functional testing? Functional testing is a type of software testing that validates the software system against the functional requirements. The purpose of functional tests is to test each function of the software application by providing appropriate input and verifying the output against the functional requirements. Functional testing checks the application to ensure that it is doing exactly what it is meant to. What that means, at early stages of the project, functional or requirement specifications are gathered. Essentially, it is a list of what the application is supposed to do from a user's perspective. For example, I, as this and that type of user, should have this or that ability in order to accomplish some goal. So the general formula is, as a type of user, I want some goal so that some reason. Let's give a real example. I, as a regular user of an online bookstore, want to have search option by any term so that I can easily find any book to purchase. What should we functionally test here? Well, we should take a list of books with all data about it that is stored in a database or whatever service the application calls and pulls the data from. So, what could be there? Book title, author's name, year of release, genre, and try typing that term and see if the results match the term that was inputted. So what we can see here as the steps. We should understand the functional requirements, so what each requirement means. Then identify test inputs or test data based on the requirements. We should think about positive and negative outcomes. For example, if I search by term that does not match with any data, there should be no results. And maybe some appropriate message should be there because user should know what's going on. Because in this particular case, if there are no search results and if there is no message about it, then the user might think that the search is not working, that the application crashed or something like that. So that should be taken into consideration also, those error messages. Then the next step would be to compute the expected outcomes with selected test input values and execute the test cases. And make sure that always, before testing, make at least a checklist of things to be verified, if not writing test cases, so you can see what is covered and what are possible flows. And of course, at the end, you should compare actual and computed expected results. Now let's talk about smoke testing. What is smoke testing? When to use it, and advantages and disadvantages. Smoke testing is a type of software testing which ensures that the major functionalities of the application are working fine. It is a non-exhaustive testing with very limited test cases to ensure that the important features are working fine and we're good to go with the detailed testing. Where does the term smoke come from? Well, it comes from the hardware testing, where the device, when first switched on, is tested for the smoke or fire from its components. So that ensures that the hardware's basic components are working fine and with no serious failures. Similarly, when we do smoking testing of an application, then this means that we're trying to ensure that there should be no any major failures before starting testing in detail. And not just that, it can be made like that when some new code is pushed, after build tests can be triggered to immediately alarm if something serious went wrong because of that new code. Or it can go any other way. It can be made in a way that merging the new code is disabled if the smoke tests don't pass. So, what is the main purpose of the smoke testing? It is to ensure that the critical functionalities of an application are working fine. It is also known as the build verification testing, where the build is verified by testing the important features of the application and then declaring it as good to go for further detailed testing. It can be done by developers before releasing the build to the testers, and post this is to also be tested by a testing team to be ensured that the build is stable enough to perform the detailed testing. Usually, smoke testing is performed with just positive scenarios and valid data. It is type of shallow and wide testing because it covers all the basics and important functionalities of an application, but not in detail. Usually, smoke testing is documented. It's like a normal health checkup of the build of an application. Let's give an example for smoke testing. Let's assume that there is an application like Teachers Network, which has few modules, like 4 important components. Among them is login page, adding teachers' details, updating it, and deleting it. As a part of the smoke testing, we will test the login page with valid input. After login, we will test the addition, updating, and deletion of the records. If all the 4 critical components work fine, then the build is stable enough to proceed with detailed testing. So, just basically CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, should be taken care of in this smoke testing. When to use smoke testing? Developers do it before giving build to the testing team. Testers do it before they start the detailed testing. And it is done to ensure that the basic functionalities of the application are working fine. Whenever the new build is installed, we should perform 1 round of smoke testing because in the latest build, we may encounter the blocker bug. After all, there might be some change that might have broken a major feature. Fixing the bug of adding a new feature could have affected a major portion of an original software. Or, so that's the one case, or we do smoke testing where the installation is happening. When the stable build is installed, no matter where, the test server, production server, user acceptance testing, we do the smoke testing to find the blocker bugs. Now, why do we do it? We will do the smoke testing to ensure that the product is testable at all. We will perform it in the beginning and detect the bugs in the basic features and send it back to the developers team so they would have enough time to fix it. And we perform smoke testing to make sure that application is installed correctly. What are the advantages? It helps finding bugs in an early stage of testing, and we already once said that that's really, really important because it saves money. It helps in finding the issues that got introduced by the integration of some components. It helps in verifying the issues fixed in the previous build that are not impacting the major functionalities of the application. There's very limited number of test cases that are required to be done while in the smoke testing, and it can be carried out in a small amount of time. But now, what are the disadvantages of smoke testing? Smoke testing does not cover the detailed testing. It's non-exhaustive testing with small number of test cases, because of which we are not able to find the other possible critical issues. And that smoke testing is now performed with negative scenarios and with invalid data. So the bugs that could be caused by those scenarios could not be also found during the smoke testing. Now let's proceed to sanity testing. What is sanity testing? Sanity testing is usually performed when any minor bug is fixed or when there is a small change in the functionality. It is a kind of software testing which is done by the testers to ensure that the functionality is working as expected. Sanity testing is narrow and deep. Unlike the smoke testing, sanity testing is focused on one or two functionalities, while smoke testing is done to ensure that all the major features are working fine. After the changes or fixes are done in the code, the software build is available for the testers. Post-installation of the build, the testers will do the sanity testing of the changed functionality instead of doing the entire regression testing, which can take more time than that. If the bug fixes and the changed functionalities are not working as expected, then the testers should not accept the build. If the sanity test fails, software product is rejected by the testing team to save time and money. It is performed, so sanity testing is performed only after the software product has passed the smoke test. Sanity testing is actually a subset of regression testing. It is performed to ensure that the code changes that are made are working properly, just like in the regression, but regression is a bigger set of checkups. Now, let's mention a few points about sanity testing. It concentrates on the detailed testing of some limited features. It is a subset of regression testing. It is performed when we do not have enough time for detailed testing of whole application. It is usually not scripted. It is brief testing in order to ensure that the changes are working as expected. Sanity testing checks the minor bug fixes and the functionality changes are working at the same time, and also ensures that the related functionality is intact. Because a reported bug might be fixed, but something else with that same functionality could be broken, or with some related functionality could be broken while fixing that reported bug. Let's mention advantages of sanity testing. Firstly, it saves a lot of time and effort because it is focused on one or few just areas of functionality. There is no effort put in documentation because it's usually unscripted. It helps identifying the dependent missing objects, and it is used to verify that a small functionality of application is still working fine after a minor change, whether that change is a change in implementation or change because of the bug fixing. Now, what are disadvantages? Well, it focuses only on the commands and functions of the software. It does not go to the design structure level. So it's kind of difficult for the developers to understand how to fix issues that are found during the sanity testing. Sanity testing is performed only for some limited features. So if there is any issue in other functionalities, then it will be difficult to catch them. Sanity testing is usually unscripted, so future references are not really available. And let's give one example of sanity testing to understand it better. Let's assume we have an e-commerce project, and some main modules are login page, home page, user profile page, user registration, and so on. And let's assume there is a defect in the login page. What kind of defect? Where the password field accepts less than, for example, 4 alphanumeric characters. And what was the requirement? The requirement was that the password field should not be accepting below 8 characters. So the defect is reported by the testing team to the development team to resolve it. Then the development team fixes that reported issue and sends it to the testing team for retesting. Then the testing team checks whether the changes done are working fine or not. It is also determined if it does have an impact on other related functionalities, like functionality to update the password or the user profile page. So as a part of the sanity testing, all of those things should be checked, not just the main functionality, but a little bit around the area of the functionality that was checked, that was changed, and to go in detail around that one particular functionality. Okay, so now let's see generally the differences between smoke and sanity, and to remind ourselves what we have learned today. Differences. What is the main objective for sanity? It is to verify the rationality of a system, while on the other side, the main objective of smoke testing is to verify the stability of the system, entire system. Sanity testing is executed to verify that the new functionality or the bug fixes are working as expected. And on the other side, smoke testing is executed to ensure that the basic functionalities are working as expected. Sanity testing is usually unscripted, while smoke testing is usually scripted or documented. Sanity is performed after the smoke testing, so the smoke is performed before sanity. Sanity testing is usually performed by testers. Smoke testing is performed by the testers, and it can be also performed by the developers. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now we have prepared questions, and if you pause a video for a second, on the next page you will find the answers. Thanks for watching. Bye.